Hey guys, I'm going to go over the homework, but as kind of a warm-up, I'm going to redo numbers 1 and 2. So um, I would say maybe if you have your packet in front of you and we ended up doing this one in class, one class we didn't get to it, but so then this will be good practice for you. If you're from the class that doesn't already have 1 and 2 done, then you can follow along with me as if we were already in class. Those of you that already did numbers 1 and 2, then you might want to just maybe copy the problems off on a separate sheet of paper and then use that as a way to use this as another way to practice since you've seen it once. Okay, so you might be like, what is this window deal about? So basically what you're going to do is we're going to create windows, and then between each window there's going to be, we're going to use the multipliers as separators, and you'll see what I mean by that, okay? So we're going to rewrite this expression here. First of all, the direction says to simplify, and your answer should contain only positive exponents. So if you see over here, let me refocus this. Wait while it focuses. Okay, there we go. If you see over here, this is not considered simplify because we have a negative exponent. But there's more to than just not having negative exponents. So you'll see what we're doing here. So for example, I know you see right now two different terms, but if you think about PEMDAS, which I'll put here, okay, the parentheses exponent, multiply, divide, addition, subtraction, you see that there's no addition here, no subtraction here, there's no parentheses here, there are exponents, multiplying, there's no division. So we're going to take care of this. Now I want to put, if you guys can see, there's invisibly a multiplication symbol between 2 and m squared. So I want to rewrite it as 2 times m squared. There's going to be a lot of rewriting here. And then I'm going to put the times, and then 2 times m squared. So I'm using the multiplying symbols as separators between all the numbers and variable terms. So now I'm going to create windows. Okay, now you might be like, windows, like house windows? Yeah. There's like a analogy that I want to use with that. But for now, just let's call them windows and not call them boxes, because boxes was for when we did box and circling. So windows. Now do you see here that there are windows that have just number bases in them? In fact, these two. So I could actually write them side by side. Okay? And then I can go ahead and write m squared next to m. Oh, sorry guys. This should be a 3. Sorry. And then to the third. So then I'm going to redraw the windows. Okay, if you think you don't need them, but I promise you at the beginning you do. So 2 times 2 is just a 4. These are all multiplying. Remember, we're multiplying, okay? And we're going to take care of the exponents. So then we have m. Now remember, if you are multiplying the same base, then you add the exponents. Let me get my notebook. It's on page 33, and if you looked here, if we multiply the same bases, you add the exponents. So the base stays the same, but the m and the n, the two exponents, add up. It says keep the same base, add the exponents. So I would say keep your page 33 open while you guys are doing this. Use it as a reference. So I'm going to add the 2 and the 3, and that becomes 4. I'm going to make this invisible, and then 4m to the 5th, and that is my final answer. So basically you've taken all the numbers you can multiply them together, made them one number, and then any bases with the same base, you put them together and add their exponents. Okay, why do we add them? Because here technically this is an m times m, this is an m times m times m, but that's a total of 5 m's being multiplied, so that's why it's m to the 5th. Alright, number 2, I'm going to rewrite it with the multiplying, so draw the dots first. M to the 4th times 2 times n to the negative 3. I'm going to draw my windows. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and put the 2 in the front. Since 2 is not going to get multiplied by anything, I'm just going to put it to the front. That's done with that. Times m to the 4th times m to the negative 3. Now it doesn't matter which order you put the m's, because when you multiply, it's a commutative property. You can switch them around as much as you want. So then I've got this and this and this. these are same bases, so I'm going to add the exponents. So 4 plus a negative 3 is 1. Okay, remember this is a negative 3, so it ends up subtracting and keeping the sign of the larger. Okay, so different signs subtract and keep the sign of the larger. So 4 minus 3 is 1, and it's going to stay positive. Now to make it truly simplified, just make the 1 invisible, and that's your final answer. So it went from being this to simplifying, canceling things out, and becoming this. Now for the homework. The homework was 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I strongly suggest that you try to do at least the first step on your own. So let's put the multiplying symbols in between everywhere we can, wherever we see that there is a multiplication symbol. Okay? Why don't you pause the video right now and try rewriting what you would do here, okay? And then pause or play the video to see if you got it right. So if you are going to pause the video, pause it now. Okay. Welcome back. So we have, I see an invisible multiplication symbol here and here. So I'm going to rewrite this with all the multiplication symbols. So we have a 4, then a times, r to the negative third, then a times, 2, then another times, and then r squared. That gives me room to make my windows. Okay. Now if you can see, I can put 4 times 2 together. Now if you want to write it together and then put the r to the negative 3 and r to the second together, you're welcome to do that. If you want to skip that step and you can already see that they're going to multiply, you can. Now what's 4 times 2? That's not a 6, it's 4 times 2, not plus. It's an 8. Now I've got two bases that are being multiplied. That means you add their exponents. So what's negative 3 plus 2? It's negative 1. Now I'm going to put the, there's a lot of rewriting here. So you're going to put the multiplying symbol between. I'm going to rewrite the 8 multiplied by r to the negative 1. Now I can't put these together, however, okay, the 8, the r to the negative 1 needs to go to the bottom, needs to go to the denominator. So I'm going to let the 8 stay on top, okay, and remember negatives go down, so bring it down to the bottom and then make the 1 positive. And I'm almost done because you can't do anything with that. There's no canceling, anything. The only thing I would say is to make the 1 invisible for the r. So it becomes 8 over r is your final answer. Okay, so at this point I would strongly suggest, if you were like, what? Okay, try going back, get a clean sheet of paper, rewrite this exact same problem, pause the video and see, or re-listen to it, then pause, and then see if you can do this on your own. If you get stuck, go back, watch the video. It takes time, guys, to do this, okay? So don't just watch and copy. That is not going to help you, okay? It helps you a little bit, maybe, but if all you're doing is copy mindlessly, then it's not really helping you. Number 4. So that's our simplified answer. Number 4, let's put our multiplying. There is my multiplying. Okay, let me rewrite it. 4 times n to the 4th times 2 times n to the negative 3. Window, window, actually that's a 4, window, window. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to skip the step of putting them side by side. I know that 4 is going to multiply with 2. What's 4 times 2? 8. And then here I've got an n and an n, so I'm going to add the exponent. So 4 plus a negative 3 is just 1, okay? Which I could just rewrite as 8n. Okay? That is considered simplified. It went from being this to being that. They mean the same thing. They both represent the same thing. They're just, one's a simplified version of the other. Okay. Number 5. Same thing. Okay, again, number 4. If you're like, how did you do that? Well, try it again on a separate sheet of paper. Just copy this part down. And then think about putting the multiplication symbols in between, rewriting them, putting windows around them, multiplying the ones that have the bases, like number bases, and then the same variable base. Well, why don't you try this one on your own if you haven't already, okay? So you would pause the video at this point and then go on. So I'm going to keep going, but you can obviously come back anytime. So I'm going to put a multiplication symbol here and here. There's always a multiplication symbol between a number and a variable if they're right next to each other. And there's no like plus, minus, or division between them, okay? So I'm going to rewrite it as 2 times k to the 4th times 4 times k. then I window, 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 window. Wow, I'm getting a lot of 8s, am I not? Wow, didn't know that was going to happen. So 2 times 4, that's another 8. Now there's an invisible 1 right here, so make it visible. And I'm going to multiply the bases, but then that means the exponents end up getting added. So k to the 5th. Because there's 4 k's here and 1 k here, together that makes 5 k's. Okay? I just said k. Alright, so that's number 5. You can't do anything else with that, so that's your final answer. Number 6. Well, this one looks like a lot of work. I don't see an 8 though, so that's good. Alright, there's a lot of little multiplication symbols here. There's one here, 2 times, and then times, and then times, and then another times, okay? So I'm going to rewrite it. 2 times x to the 3rd times y to the negative 3rd times 2 times x to the negative 1st times y to the 3rd. Okay, let's draw all our windows. Every window should have a base and its exponent. If you don't see the exponent, that means it's a exponent of 1. So right now I see only 2 numbers bases, that's 4, so I'm going to write it here to make sure I don't run out of room. Put 4. Alright, cool. And now if it helps, I'm going to put these next to each other. So times x to the 3rd times x to the negative 1 times, I'll put these next to each other, y to the negative 3rd times y to the 3rd. Now I will tell you that there's so many ways to do this. However, maybe this might be a good idea. Go ahead and draw your windows. Since these are multiplying and these are multiplying, we're going to add their exponents. Now if you're like, Miss Hong, man, this is a lot. Yes, it is. And if we had a little bit more time, I would slow down a little bit, which we will do after the interim. But right now, I just want to at least start getting you thinking about this. So then here, when you're multiplying same bases, you add their exponents. Okay, we're going to add that. So we're going to have x, and then 3 plus a negative 1 is a positive 2. Okay, and then you can write the multiplying if you want. Okay, and then you have y. Well, what's a negative 3 plus a positive 3? That's a 0. Okay, so I'm almost done, but you never, if you see that, you don't want to leave the 0, because we know what that is, right? That's this principle, this rule here. Anything raised to 0 is 1. So let's simplify it. So instead of 4 times, well, we'll write 4 times x squared times 1. This turns into a 1. Yep, there's a lot of rewriting. I've warned you about that. Those multiply. What's 4 times 1? It's 4. And then you still got your x squared left. I'm going to leave the multiplication symbol invisible. All of this went to being this. Now some of you might be like, but Ms. Hong, why didn't you flip the negative to the bottom? Because I usually like to wait until if I see y's side by side, I like to add them first. I like to make them 1 before I have to flip, and it turns out I didn't have to put it to the bottom because they didn't end up staying negative. So I usually like to add before I flip the negative, okay? So there is my answer. Now I would strongly suggest you pause the video, copy this down on a separate sheet of paper, and see if you can do it again. When you get stuck, come back to the video and then try it again, okay? That's how you interactively do better. Oh, this looks a little easier, eh? So there's a multiplication symbol here and here. So it becomes 2 times y squared times 3 times x. That's my, okay. And then we draw our windows. And then 2 gets multiplied with 3, which is 2 times 3 is 6. Now these are not the same, so I can't do anything with them. I'm just going to rewrite them. So you can write y squared and then x, and invisibly leave, there's a multiplication symbol between these. Or you could write it, we normally write the x before the y because alphabetically it comes before the y, so then the 1x goes here, and then the y squared goes here. These mean exactly the same thing. So I would strongly suggest again, pause the video, recopy, and see if you can do this again on your own. Come back and check if you did it right. Use the video to help you if you get it wrong. Now, why don't you, if you've been following along, why don't you try this one on your own before I've gone over it and see if you can do it. Alright, so for those of you that you're back, you pause the video, you're back, here we go. There's an invisible multiplication symbol there, end there. So if I rewrite it, I got 4 times v to the third times v times u to the second power, or squared, as some of us say. Alright, draw my windows. I don't see anything for the 4 to combine with, so I'm just going to rewrite 4 and just cross it out to remind myself I'm done with that. I see a v base and a v base next to each other. I'll multiply that. There's an invisible one here, make it visible. Remember what happens when you multiply the same bases? You add their exponents. So becomes v, keep the same base, and then to the 4th power, because 3 plus 1 is 4. And there's nothing going on with the u, so I just rewrite it. And technically there's little multiplication symbols in between, but I'm going to leave them out to save myself a little time and space, and this is already done. Now if you want to put it in alphabetical order, then you would put 4 first, numbers always come first, then u squared, and then v to the 4th. Okay? So that is the homework. I would strongly suggest that if you are like, whoa, I had to completely depend on Ms. Hong to do this, then you need to recopy these on a nice separate sheet of paper and then see if you can do it on your own over and over and over again until you're comfortable. And then if you get stuck and you have questions, then bring them in on Monday ready to go. Okay, I'd be happy to answer questions. Also, there's tutoring Monday morning, so if you have questions, why don't you bring it then, and then make sure you be like, okay, I need help with this, and you can ask your teacher, whoever's tutoring you on Monday, to give you more practice problems like these, okay? And they may explain it a little differently. I want you to show them the work here so that they can see how to help you, okay? I'll also be here on Monday morning, so if you need to come by, I'll be in Miss Kinshasa's room, or my room, depending. I'll be in a meeting, but you can always stop in if you quickly need to ask me a question. And then you can go back to your tutoring teacher. Alright guys, I hope you guys give it your best effort, and good luck.